Source Cannabinoids. My name is Jill Woodworth, and I am your host. This is a podcast inspired by the condition known as tuberous sclerosis complex. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today on the podcast, my guests are Sherri Tutkus. She is the founder and CEO of GreenNurse Group, medical director of Irie Bliss Wellness, and Mark Worcester. He is the founder of Nurse Mark, among many other titles he'll share with you, or experiences he's had over the years. And this is episode 3 in our series, What is a Green Nurse?, where we're exploring all the different aspects of green nursing in the cannabis industry, alt med, and how they are spreading out around the country to bridge the gaps between traditional alternative medicine. They are actually registered nurses. There's a curriculum for them at, the medical level, and there's lots of organizations, green nurse organizations, well, not lots, but several around the country that people that are nurses interested in joining can get involved with. So they really lay it out about what they're doing. They're bridging the gaps. And they are also, I would say, personally, I might refer someone to a green nurse before I try to send them to a cannabis doctor if they're looking for more information and they want to get involved in the process of more patient empowerment and managing their own care. For all you out there with special needs or TSC related connections, I would say I'm putting this out there for you guys because this really gives a lot of patient empowerment, and hoping that more people around the country are able to find green nurses in their area. It's kind of a beacon of hope, and they hope to cover all the states at some point. I'm not sure if there's green nurses in every single state. I would guess there are, but there's an overriding organization, and we will post these resources with the podcast. So they are talking about their new global community that Mark and Sherri are partnering on, a website, a community platform with resources, education, patient consult they offer, medical cards, helping you live your best life ever. And I'm also excited to announce the upcoming Women's Equality Day chat that we are hosting, sponsored by Forest Bathing, our product created by Mike Robinson, our hemp-based product that's really amazing. I'm not going to say any more about it, but we will be giving away free bottles in a drawing during our Women's Equality Day chat this Wednesday, the 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That would be 4 p.m. out in the West Coast. It's going to be myself, Lisa Larson, my partner in crime. She's not one to really speak out in public, but I bribed her, or actually I begged her to come on and do this with me. And Amora, our chief writer extraordinaire, who is a journalism major and getting some great experience writing, has helped us a lot with our social media. She's going to come on too and talk a little bit about the challenges she's had. All of us represent a different, we're different. We're different humans. It's going to be fun. And that's about it that I have to say. I feel like there's something I'm missing, but I'm going to say take it away. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Sherri and Mark, for doing this. Again, what is a green nurse? Listen, learn, tell your friends, reach out to me, reach out to Sherri, reach out to Mark. If you're interested in exploring cannabinoid medicine, it can be life-changing. Take it away. Thank you, Nurse Mark Worcester, and Sherri Tutkus, the founder and CEO of the GreenNurse Group, medical director, Irie Bliss Wellness, and host of Green Nurse on the Go radio show. And Mark, I know you are an author, and you've had quite an interesting journey. And I'm not going to do much more bio because I'll let you do it. So thank you for being on this podcast and launching this series that we're doing with the Green Nurses. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're willing to collaborate on this and get these out there because people don't know. I talk to a lot of people across the country with special needs kids, and they are just ready for this. They are ready for help. So thanks for being on the podcast. I will let you both introduce yourselves. So who wants to go first?
I'm going to let Mark go first.
Oh, what?
Yes, I do. I want to let Mark go first.
Well, we'll save the best for last then. That's
You're very sweet.
Isn't that appropriate? So you want a little bio? Oh
Yes.
My gosh, how do I go over all the things that I've done? Right. So I'm a registered nurse, new nurse, graduated with my bachelor's in 2018, my associates in 2014. Have a little bit of
Wow.
long-term care experience, but I ran a technology company for 30 years. And along the way, I became a yoga instructor and I got into meditation, and I've done just a slew of things over the course of time. And I never do anything halfway. And so when I became a nurse, I began to search for what I was going to be as a nurse. And I became a nurse going to school nights and weekends while running this last business.
Wow.
And, I did it because I wanted to do something more meaningful with my life. Like, I wanted to have an impact on millions of people. That was what I wanted to do. My company before was a wonderful company. I made great money. I mean, I was in it for 30 years, didn't have to work hard. People thought I was crazy for wanting to get into something different.
I bet.
Yeah. But it's exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I specifically got into cannabis in a kind of a funny way, which is how my life rolls out. I started dating a girl in Brooklyn, New York in the beginning of 2018. And I moved in with her and her 3 children. And we had this wonderful life. And her story was she had breast cancer 2 years prior, and she could not take opiates for pain. She had a double mastectomy and really searched for something that would help her with her pain and her experience. And she found cannabis, and she started a CBD company before there really were any CBD companies. And
Wow.
she's an amazing entrepreneur and a wonderful person. And so I had just sold my last company. I lived with her in Brooklyn, New York, and she had this business. So I jumped into her business with her, and we partnered for a while. And the more I learned about cannabis, now I was cannabis agnostic. Went in the Marines at 17.
I
that
never
was the
heard
end of my
that.
cannabis
Yeah,
use,
right.
Yeah. So I didn't care if you
Right.
used it, because I used plenty of it when I was an adolescent. So I knew what it was about. But I was agnostic because, I went in the military and you can't use it there.
Can't
And
even
then I
think
got
about
out.
it.
And I had all of these other things going on. So I never used it. And so when I connected with Jenny, I started to dabble with cannabis and understand a little bit more about it. But the more I peeled back the onion of all of the research that had been done, I was simply floored. And I knew right away that was what my nursing career was going to be about. It was going to be about bringing this mainstream as a medicine. And so I've spent the last 2 years traveling the world, literally,
Really?
attending all sorts of medical cannabis conferences in the epicenter of research in Israel. Spent some time there. And so I have just dove in headlong. And
That's
so
awesome.
I'm member of the ACNA, American Cannabis Nurses Association, member of the the Association of Cannabis Specialists, which is more of a physician-focused organization. And, I have a product line. I love everything about cannabis as a medicine. And of course, because I don't do anything halfway, I'm in a master's in medical cannabis science and therapeutics program at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy. So a legit master's level program on cannabis, right?
Yeah. Is that new?
No. Yeah. I'm the first I am in the first class that's going to go through that program.
Wow.
Yeah. So halfway through, but it's amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah, I agree. That's quite a history that you've got. You bring lived experience.
Oh
Sherri,
my gosh.
take it away.
I'll take it away. So, I didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a cannabis nurse. There was a compelling story. There is a compelling story as to what brought me to cannabis nursing. And it was a personal one. It had to do with my own story of healing. I got sick in 2012 and almost died. And basically, I did everything that the doctors told me to do, plus all of the holistic alternative. And it was a nurse that was older than me that made it okay for me to try cannabis in a medical way. So it opened up my eyes and ears, all of my senses. My head was cracked open, and I started to explore cannabis as medicine because I didn't understand it as medicine. I only understood it to be a recreational component. So I delved into the plant, delved into the science. I got involved in the community. The community is a really big part of my story. And then I started to associate myself with multiple different organizations. I'm a member of the Cannabis Nurses Network, the American Cannabis Nurses Association. There's a new organization called the International Association of Psychedelic Nurses. So really
Oh,
a lot of
wow.
plant
I forgot
medicine.
about that one. Thanks for
Yeah,
bringing
so
that up, Sherri. My gosh.
yes,
Yeah.
so we're members of that as
Love
well.
them. Mm-hmm.
So really, we just started delving into it, and I figured out how to make cannabis work for me. So from 2014 to 2017, I worked it. I literally learned about the endocannabinoid system, plant medicine, and how to apply it to myself. And then what I ended up doing is I founded the GreenNurse Group, which is a nonprofit organization of cannabis nurses who are also medical cannabis patients. And all of us use this plant to nourish our endocannabinoid system. Many of us have come off of our pharmaceuticals. Some people are using it to bridge the gap. And it's helping all of us to live a better quality of life. And so we teach on that. Cannabis nursing is much more than just cannabis because we have an endocannabinoid system. Yep. So the GreenNurse Group. So then after that, so now Mark and I are coming together, and I'm really, really excited to announce that, we are co-founders of the GreenNurse platform, which is a community of trusted professionals, products, and services. They're going to bring hope, inspiration, growth, and healing to people that connect with us. So we really want to bring the community together, bring people, bring products, bring services that are cannabis nurse approved or GreenNurse approved. So we're developing this platform together, and a community, a global community.
Global.
And
global.
Yeah.
Worldwide,
So and so Mark and I, met at the American Cannabis Nurses Association conference in November, and we started dialoguing. And before you knew it, I met my divine masculine. I met a man that is just as passionate as I am when it comes to this plant, and wants to take it to the next level, really wants to utilize his gifts, his talents, his passion, his mission, his intelligence, everything, the biopsychosocial, spiritual aspects of healing, and teach that to others, to other wellness professionals, health professionals, just people in general that just want to be involved in a community, where our core values are what? Integrity, authenticity, transparency, kindness, compassion, empathy, and of being of service. So that's what we really want to bring to the table. And so I'm just so grateful for Mark, because he is.
And I'm grateful for you. It's the perfect match. It really is. I mean, granted, we're both introverts and we're not very outgoing, so we have to kind of overcome that. Joe.
I actually am an introvert, so.
I'm being funny.
I can't.
Sherri and I
your
are probably
background.
the least introverted, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
people.
Yeah.
You guys,
people.
Yeah, it kind of brings everything that's to me, just briefly, it brings like a lot of the pieces that are missing in just, what we consider like the health medical system, because you're bringing in community, you're bringing in, more options for people. So it's like, I'm kind of fading on that, but it's bringing together the pieces that I guess as a parent, I'm not a nurse. I've been a caregiver for 24 years for 5 kids, but 3 that have a significant disability. So, while I'm not a nurse, I do have, a lot of exposure to different aspects of the medical system, and really, really, as time has passed, seen how impossible it is to have any kind of a quality of life and work within the bounds of that, and expect your offspring to advance to some kind of independence. So what I see you guys doing is just addressing a lot of the pieces that are missing in, these siloed systems of mental health and physical health. So I'm thrilled. And my next question
cannabis
is,
bridges that. Yeah.
Yeah. And right. The future of healthcare is patient empowerment, right?
Yeah.
Truly, it is patient empowerment, teaching people all of their choices, and educating and empowering them to ask questions about choices so they can make the best decision as to what they want to utilize, right? You can make it about the patient, connecting to the patient instead of health professionals, instead of us making it about us. Got to turn it around and make it about the patient, make it about the family member, make it about them so they can make the choice. And as health professionals, we have an obligation to support it.
Yeah. I guess the power structure of the traditional medicine with doctors at the top of the food chain has really been frustrating, because I think as you go along and you start to gain knowledge about medical, it's not like you get any respect for you actually get disrespect because you're a threat when you know a little bit. And so, yeah. Anyways, that's awesome. I guess one thing I want to ask, and you've kind of answered this in some ways, is if someone wants to become a green nurse, what are the qualifications or what are the certifications that are needed? What's the process?
Well, there's cannabis nursing, there's green nurse. So Mark and I are developing a platform that is going to be a little bit different. So cannabis nursing in general, there's a lot of different organizations that are out there. There's a lot of different certifications for nurses, but there isn't one established, what would you say it? No one
overriding body
body right now that says what a cannabis nurse is. However, the National Council State Boards of Nursing. Okay. So the National Council State Boards of Nursing is basically the governing body of each individual state that licenses nurses to practice. So in 2018, the National Council State Boards of Nursing made a call to action, right? That all nurses must have 6 essential areas of knowledge when it comes to working with cannabis patients.
Wow.
One of them is knowing the state laws for both medical and adult use cannabis. Number 2 is principles of the medical marijuana program that exists in each state. 3, understanding the endocannabinoid system, receptors, cannabinoids, and interactions. 4, pharmacology and associated research. 5, safety considerations and risk-benefit ratio. 6, my favorite of all, the nurse shall approach the patient without judgment regarding their preferred.
Their preferred.
That should be number 1.
That should be number one.
The nurse shall approach the patient without judgment regarding their preferred treatment. So basically, Mark and I are going to develop, a program that's based on these 6 essential clinical areas. And there's other programs available as well. But, as we continue to evolve and grow, we will be incorporating a lot of different nursing organizations into our platform because we want to be inclusive. Right, Mark?
Completely.
Yeah, I think I get people that ask me, they hear that I'm starting to use cannabinoid medicine with my son, and I put that out there. And somebody in another state will say, that's really interesting. What do I do? I can't do anything. And there's so many times when I'm like, I don't even know where to point people. So I kind of threw this question in, like, for a parent that's in a state where the laws are not quite as progressive as they are in Massachusetts, more stringent. What can someone do if they have a kid that they or personally want to use cannabis? I mean, legally, or
so basically every person should know their own state laws. Okay. So every state is different, because cannabis is Schedule 1, on a federal level, it's different than state law. So every state is different when it comes to medical and adult use. And so people need to know that. The other thing too is that there are a lot of resources out there for patients that have pediatrics. We do pediatrics at the GreenNurse Group. There are other platforms that do it. The American Cannabis Nurses Association, the Cannabis Nurses Network has an entire list of nurses and their specialties. So people can go there to look to find, providers. There's a huge network and we all really know one another. And so there's,
that's good to know, because I never want to bug you guys. Like, I'll think, I want to ask.
What we're here for. No, Jill.
Is there a green nurse in Ohio or something? I'm going to start doing it because,
that's our hope is to have them in every state.
Yeah.
Every state.
Really.
Like we just, literally
every
last
single
night,
state.
we just introduced Green Nurse Iowa, Carrie Lee Lure. Yes, Green Nurse Iowa.
Yes.
So she's in Iowa now, and she's, under our platform and doing education and consultations and advocacy and helping patients get their cards. So Green Nurse Ohio is Green Nurse Tanya. Hey, Tanya. So we do have nurses. And it's going to be expanding. We're rolling it out slowly, methodically, thoughtfully, in a way that makes sense, so we can get as many people involved in a way that they want to get involved. So what we're doing, Mark, as the Green Nurse, we're finding out what people want and need, and we're bringing it to them.
Give the people what they want and what they need.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, I'm going to remember that. Yeah. And use you guys as a resource especially as you expand.
Absolutely.
And, if I know there's a Green Nurse in Ohio, I can shoot somebody over there, even if they're not right in the immediate proximity, they probably would get at least some guidance. That's excellent.
Totally.
I'm so
and there's
psyched.
platforms too. Each of the group, the Green Nurse, our platform, we're going to have a huge section in each individual cannabis nursing organization. They have members and everyone communicates on forums, on private groups. So we're all there to support one another and to provide the best resources to patients that are looking for education.
Okay. That's very helpful. Rolling forward, I guess I wanted to ask each of you about like a particular moment that you've had, in your cannabis nursing experience that stands out.
Okay. The one that was really meaningful for me, I was on the board of a hospice back before I ever got into nursing. I did a lot of nonprofit board work, and one of the places was Old Colony Hospice, which is the largest nonprofit hospice in Massachusetts. It's been around 40 years, I think now at this point, and they're fabulous work. And so hospice is sort of really close and near and dear to my heart, right? So my story is one of a family who sent a letter to, when I was working with Jenny, sent a letter to us to tell us just how wonderful it was that they had access to cannabis for their mom at the end of her life. And she had passed away from cancer. And their story was to us that it was just phenomenal that she was lucid all the way until the last moment she took her last breath. And that she, at the end of life, morphine is the usual course, especially with cancer, to treat, and it's very effective at treating the pain, but it also really decreases, your consciousness, right? So you're not going to be receptive, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to be interacting with the family. And so the family was just so grateful that their mother was lucid to the end, because one of the things that cannabis does is decrease the amount of opiates and morphine that you need to have the same pain relieving effect. So mom was able to get her morphine and still able to interact with the family all the way till her last day. The day before she passed away, she said, "Hey, you know what? I want to take my car for a drive."
Wow.
And the family was so appreciative that they had this blessing of having mom there all the way till the end. And that's not the normal course of the end of life experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So valuable. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Sherri, what you got?
So I have a hospice story as well. This is an interesting story. And I may have shared it, I may not, but this was an interesting one. When I was started doing GreenNurse Group, I've been a home infusion nurse, I've been a hospice nurse, and I got called. I did a presentation at one of the hospice facilities in front of nurses and social workers, and they called me, just do a home visit, just to assess a patient that had just gotten onto hospice. She had her little pain kit, and she actually had her medical card, and she went shopping for cannabis, and she was using it all, and she was sleeping 24/7. So they called me up and they said,
soundly too.
Soundly. So can you help her figure it out? And I'm like, sure. So, went to her house, and basically the first thing we discussed is, what are your goals for using cannabis? Like, what are you looking for? She just says, I want to be awake, be a little bit more comfortable, and have, quality of life at the end of life. And so basically that's what we focused on. We focused on dosing her in a way that she could have a high quality of life, and basically got her comfortable. It took like maybe about a week. I didn't hear from her. Now, literally, I thought that she had passed on. 6 months later, I got a phone call. It was right around Christmas time. And she says, "I can't believe it. It's gone." And I said, "What's gone? Who is this?" Literally. And so her name was, she has this cute little name. She was an Italian lady. And she just said, "Do you remember me from the summer?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, yes, I thought that you died." She says, "No, it's gone. It's gone." So she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, unresectable tumor, failed chemo, failed radiation, sent home on hospice to die with 1 month to live, and just a tiny bit of cannabis. CBD in the daytime, THC in the nighttime. She wasn't on any Rick Simpson protocol. Just a little bit of cannabis to improve the quality of her life, her cancer. No evidence of disease. So from that moment, she said to me, "Okay, now we got to get me off of these drugs." And so then over the course of a year, we started to help her get down, wean off of as many pharmaceuticals as she could
Right.
to the point where she was comfortable. So as of today, 3 years later, she still does not have cancer. And last year, she had she said to me, she goes, okay, now your next project, help me get to Italy for 3 months. So we had to educate her on the, the flying of, into Italy, but she's living a high quality of life. She is still on, medications, but using cannabis. She still has problems. She's still going to the doctor, but she doesn't have any evidence of cancer right now. And she is living her best life.
That's great. Yeah.
And that was something that I wasn't anticipating
No.
because of at all. It was, and it was, the side effect was a longer quality of life.
Wow. Both those make me like, oh yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So spearheading in a healthcare evolution. Now I know we've kind of talked about this. Tell me a little bit about what I see is people feeling like they have to choose one or the other. They have to choose, the traditional medicine course, or, if they're exploring cannabis, they don't want to talk about it with their doctors. They don't, this is what I'm seeing. So if you, both of you maybe can give a few comments on how you see this trajectory in general in our society with healthcare.
So with healthcare, one of the things, and I just love to talk about this. One of the things that's so important for nurses, healthcare professionals, coaches, anyone that takes care of patients or gives advice, every single thing that you tell your patient to do or not do either supports the endocannabinoid system or doesn't. As simple as that.
Yeah.
So basically, as health professionals, we have an obligation to know what things support the endocannabinoid system and what things don't support it. And that's critical knowledge. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
It's not just about cannabis, and our platform is going to include a lot of things that are just not cannabis related that are, in support of the endocannabinoid system.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the other things that support the endocannabinoid system.
Oh my gosh. There's so many.
You ready? We'll go back and forth. You ready, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, go.
Yeah. Okay. Diet.
Okay.
Exercise.
Yes. Diet, exercise, supplements, even using supplements, sleep hygiene. The diet thing is meditation, movement, right? So there's even things, certain things, yoga, there's 4 areas that yoga, how it supports the endocannabinoid system, the hour of power. You've got meditation, mindfulness, movement, and breath work. All of those things support the endocannabinoid system. Diet in particular, I don't think people are aware is that, fast food, fried food, fake food, artificial flavors, artificial colorings, trans fat, hydrogenated oils, high fructose corn syrup, and sugar down-regulate the endocannabinoid system. Right? Pharmaceuticals, not all of them, but some of them. And the ones that cause a drug nutrient depletion, right? You need to look at what we're taking in regards to pharmaceuticals. And if you're not eating enough of those foods that have the high quality micronutrients that you need or supplementing, these are things that, it's an educational platform to provide information plus services and products to support the endocannabinoid system. So these are just examples of some things that.
Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. I think people, when you say endocannabinoid system, it needs to be regulated. They're not understanding that there's you don't have to go use cannabis necessarily. You can go out for a run or do your yoga and so it's not just like you said.
You choose, Jill. You choose what you want to do, right? We'll give you information and education and coaching and help and support, but it's up to you to decide what you're comfortable with using, right? I mean, we're all on board with cannabis. We've seen the results. And on a personal level too. I mean, I've had depression and mood disorder my whole entire life. Like as far back as I can remember, I've had to struggle with that. Right. Yeah. And I've done every single pharmaceutical medication that you can think of because again, I don't do anything halfway. Right. I dove down that path and none of them worked for me. Right. And now CBD especially has a very positive effect on both of those. It just regulates my endocannabinoid system and helps with all of the other neurotransmitters, the serotonin, the dopamine, all of these other areas that are of importance that we try to treat with regular pharmaceutical methodologies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Personal story of it works for me. And
yes, me too. And that's like my personal story too, is on over 18 pharmaceuticals, did everything that the doctors told me to do, did all of the surgeries, the medicines, the therapies, plus I did alternative healing. I did all of the endocannabinoid system enriching activities. And none of it worked until cannabis came into my life. And once cannabis came into my life, all of those other things that didn't work started to work. The yoga started to work.
Key. Yeah.
The lock and key. It unlocked the door to the largest neurotransmitter signaling system.
Yeah.
So everything, all the other health and wellness activities started to work. And as things started to work, I didn't need to consume as much cannabis. That's the part that's so cool about this plant.
Side note, the National Institute of Health publicly stated a while ago that the endocannabinoid system is indicated in every disease state. They made that statement, right?
They did.
And these are people who don't make statements lightly. Like they are not going to come out and say something unless they're pretty darn sure that that's the case. Wow. And they came out and publicly stated that.
Right. So, actually, I think I read a PubMed reference on that. It's
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So
yeah. I think that
overarching. Yeah.
I was appalled when I found out, about this endocannabinoid system that just was left off the map. And it seems to me that,
90s.
It's just appalling that it wouldn't be included because it would influence every single disease if it.
Yes.
Well, that's the interesting thing too, is because if my providers had an understanding of the endocannabinoid system, they would have seen that my migraine headaches and my ADHD, right? So those were migraine headaches have been proven and substantiated, as well as irritable bowel and fibromyalgia, to have a clinical endocannabinoid deficiency. So if you looked at that, if you saw my history, a little light bulb could go off and say, "Ooh, she might be a little endocannabinoid deficient." And so then you think about all of the other medications that were added, all of the other stressors that were putting on my body. I was continually down-regulating my endocannabinoid system, not even knowing it.
Right. Yeah. Very similar experience, just kind of like going against myself. I was always a runner, but had the depression and anxiety issues and life traumas, and doing some good things, but kind of working against myself in a lot of ways. But no one was looking at the big picture. And, I had an appointment for my daughter yesterday. She's having, some heart palpitations. And I'm like, I go through the process, and immediately more and more it's apparent to me that they're just going to look at this one organ. They're not going to think of anything that might be going on in her life, or, some other organ or some other, who knows, that influence. And it just seems illogical.
They're not trained that way, right? Jill? They're not trained to look at all of this. They're trained to look at specifically the cardiac issue and only focus on that one issue. And they're very good at looking at that one issue.
Absolutely. And I think that kind of leads to the next question I had for you guys is, how is it working with, the doctors and in facing any resistance and stigma? I'm sure that's decreasing, but can you share how you guys navigate that? Or not?
I can a little bit. So I've met a little resistance.
Okay.
I've met, a little resistance. There's a lot of opinions. There's a lot, and my big thing is that research is constantly evolving. Information is constantly changing. This plant is ever evolving. When anyone makes a blanket statement about the plant, I go, "Ooh, let's see what the cannabis plant has to say." Right? Because I love it. Things are constantly changing and evolving. So when working with medical professionals, what I'm finding too is that I'm not receiving as much resistance as I used to.
Okay.
Because of the ability to point them in the right direction, and also just to give them the basic understanding. So remember how you said just a few minutes ago how doctors are only focusing on like the heart or the cardiac. Right. So when I show them the umbrella,
I love that
umbrella image of the endocannabinoid system, the top of the umbrella is the endocannabinoid system. The fabric is the neurotransmitters. The spokes of the umbrella are different body systems and organ systems. The whole umbrella is us. And so when you're just focusing on one part of the umbrella, you're missing all of the other spokes of the umbrella that compromise the entire thing. And the endocannabinoid system regulates the entire umbrella, which makes up who we are. look at the endocannabinoid system at the very tippy top.
Right.
Right.
I love that
Love it.
visual.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, it just doesn't,
Mhm.
it doesn't make sense to me that, it's like you're putting out brush fires. If you're fixing the heart, and then there's a tree. Anyways, I don't need to
Well,
go.
I mean, that's the way medical schools, I always wondered about that. And I was at a conference in Colorado in 2019, and it was an international event. And one of the people that was there presenting was someone who had been in the medical school space for 30 plus years. And her specialty was endocrinology. And she said, the reason we don't teach the endocannabinoid system is very simple. When all of the schools had to go through the accreditation process, when they had to go through that, because they hadn't updated their curriculum in 25 years, they all went to an organ-based training methodology. So you learn about the organ and then everything that's related to it, right? She said, I don't even teach endocrinology anymore as a subject. It's not even taught.
Wow.
So endocannabinoid system, because it's an overall system, falls outside the parameters of an organ-based methodology of learning. So it doesn't get taught. It made such perfect sense. And because I always had the question, why don't they teach this in medical school?
Yeah.
That's why. That's why.
So and it's got to be the 12th system. The 12th system is the endocannabinoid system.
The 12th. So there's 11, I'm not going to ask you to recite them, but 11 other major physiological.
11 organ systems, our immune system. Yep. And then the 12th system is the endocannabinoid system that regulates all of it. It's the whole thing, And I'm going to tell you too, I'm finding with COVID that's happened, I'm finding more and with more doctors and nurses are coming to us for consultations and education, and they've heard of us from their patients.
That's great.
So over the past couple of months, when I'm working with a client or even a health professional, I'll ask them, how did you hear about us? Well, you're taking care of one of my patients. So it's just very interesting how the word is getting out and how they're actually becoming more curious. And once they get the information, once you go down the rabbit hole, cannabinoid therapeutics, and you can't unlearn it. Once you learn it, you can't unlearn it.
There's been times that I've wished I didn't know because it's hard to hold the cognitive dissonance that happens.
I know. Yeah.
But I'd rather feel better and have a little of that than
that's it right there. Thanks for bringing that up. It is the cognitive dissonance for sure. And it's uncomfortable, right? And people don't like to be uncomfortable. So I'm going to step back to that old story of cannabis is not good.
Right. And, I'm sure it's costly to rewrite and time, energy to rewrite the entire medical curriculum for medical schools and integrate this.
Yeah. So it's a slow process, right, Jill?
Right.
It's just something that's going to take place.
Slow, necessary process. And guess what? You have nurses that are willing and able to help.
Right. I was just going to say, and you guys are leading the
largest
charge.
Group of healthcare providers, baby. That's right.
All right. I just got a few more for you guys. Making it affordable. How do you work with patients? What are your payment arrangements? Share a little bit about that.
So basically, so with the GreenNurse Group right now, we're a nonprofit and we do free 15-minute consultations.
That's great.
For CBD, right? We do discounted services for consultation and medical cards for financial hardship. They have to meet qualifications and there is an intake form for that. Unfortunately, health insurance does not pay for GreenNurse Group services. But what we do offer at the GreenNurse Group is we offer multiple free media education. We have free blogs, we have informational articles, and all of the podcasts that we've created. We literally we don't profit off of those.
Right. And I think it's important to note that if people are going to have access to this medicine at a low cost, every state needs to have the ability to allow people to grow their own. And I think that's fabulous because I grew up farming, right? So for me, my hands in the dirt is a very spiritual thing. And I think people actually growing their own and being a part of that, of creating their own medicine, just steps back to where things were before, right? And it's so powerful. Again, empowering them to be able to treat themselves with a very, very good, positive medicine. So I think every state should have the ability to grow.
I agree.
Good point.
I totally agree. And Jody, GreenNurse Jody.
Yes, thank you.
Actually, I'm going to just mention her as well. So she is a new grower, and her blog is hilarious.
I got to check it out.
She's awesome.
She could never grow a tomato.
I love her.
She's like literally, but I'm going to tell you. So she tried in 2018, and did a little progress. 2019 was a little better. 2020, she has a jungle in her bedroom.
I think that's how it goes. It takes a while. I had the same experience. First year, I didn't even get seeds to germinate. What am I doing wrong? Next year, little seedlings, so
that's funny because I just started, my boyfriend and I just started growing. We got some plants, but yeah.
That's all right. Well, no, we're allowed.
I'm a patient. I have my card.
Yeah. We're allowed to gift, right?
Yes, it's a gift.
Adult use in Massachusetts, medical cannabis is legal. Adult use is legal. We're allowed to gift to one another, gift plants. Yes.
Yeah. So my boyfriend, he grew in the past and he's like dug into it, and it's been like a family project. So we're newbies, but it's bringing us together, and like, we're interested in the same things, and we're going to this, like, there's so much information out there that it's overwhelming, but Jody, I'll have to check that out. That sounds
her
like
podcast is great.
Fabulous.
And the reason why is because if I can get it, like, I can't keep a plant alive.
Me either.
I might be a very smart woman in certain respects, but when it comes to cultivation and growing, I'm not. But she's actually inspired me, where I got my first clone. And
Did you?
It's probably about this big right now. And we'll see what happens. But at least, so this is my first, Jody inspired me to get a plant and to try to work with it and play with it. And it is nice. You know what I mean? Like, you have this little plant that can grow something amazing and beautiful and medicine. And when you love
effective.
Powerful and effective. So there's something about cultivation and like Mark said, getting your hands in the dirt and getting into Mother Earth and working with these plants directly.
Meaningful it is.
The whole enchilada there with as many people growing as possible is. Yeah. And you guys, I think just hearing about more people growing kind of gave me the inspiration as well to do it. Plus, cost wise. So. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
What is it important for people to, with COVID, just give me, how has that been for both of your practices, and has it been, have you been able to pivot? And I know the answer is yes, but tell me a little bit about how it's impacted you personally. And
personally, my heart goes out to people because everyone's experiencing trauma on some level. And cannabis, cannabinoids in general, are great adaptogens, and help our bodies to adapt to stress for whatever reason. And basically how we've shifted is we've gone to virtual appointments. So we can do telehealth on the phone. We have the capability of doing video conferencing for health and wellness, visits. And basically now that the phases are opening up in the town and the state, we're able to do 6 feet apart, face to face. But for the most part, medical patients want to be in the comfort of their own home and have that telehealth. And it's very effective, and they get a lot of information, and it's wonderful because it's less time, less stress, and more information, and they're in the comfort of their own, much more convenient, and they absorb more because they're in the, it's really home telehealth, and phone calls is for the patient. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it was funny because
so that's how we've adapted.
Yeah, it seems almost like it's pushed the whole medical industry to embrace this kind of personalized approach. Yeah. I'm like,
it's a positive.
It's a positive, yeah.
Pandemic, for sure, it is a positive that's happened.
Yeah, I was always
because there was so many people against it in the medical community. Right?
So now you
can't do that. You can't do that. Guess what? You can do that, and it's so much better for the patient, and it's just
the way for everyone.
Yeah.
So I guess COVID is with us for a while, and it's a brave new world.
And the thing is too is that we're having more educational media, more radio shows, more podcasts, more video. Mark has a series that is coming out. Then we have positively processing perception, which is a trauma recovery workshop.
Oh, yeah,
that's being offered for free. So, there's a ton of things that people can engage in for health and wellness through media. I mean, I know it's not the same as in person, but to be able to adapt during time such as this, and being able to provide things to people still, you know, to bring hope, inspiration, growth, and healing. That's what we're here to do.
I get you high one way or another. Hope, inspiration, growth, and healing.
Yeah.
That's what we're bringing.
Yeah,
that's what we're bringing.
Definitely do that. Where can we find you? You're at the Green Mark. Now you have your separate business outside of the
and then we're going to be together.
Yeah, we're bringing it together. You know, we're there. We've got, you know, everything all ready to go. We're just getting ready to launch the website and all of the platform and the community platform and so forth. But, you know, you can reach me at nursemark.co. That's my website.
Okay.
You can email me at nursemark@nursemark.co. And I'm always willing to talk. Always.
That's brave.
And Mark's got a profile as well as on the Green Nurse Group page. So you can also find him on the Green Nurse Group page as well. So www.greennursegroup.com. So, you know, we have a lot of resources, education, patient consults, medical cards, media. And then Mark and I, like I said, together, we're taking it to the next level by creating a global community of trusted professionals, products, and services to bring hope, inspiration, growth, and healing. Right? Called the Green Nurse, so we can all live our best lives.
I love it. I'm so excited for you guys and glad our paths crossed. And, you know, here you are, two fabulous green nurses just changing the world. Thank you so much for doing this. Bye-bye.
Good job. Thank you.
And that, my folks, is a wrap. Thank you so much, Sherri Tutkus and Mark Worcester, GreenNurseGroup.com. Check out thesourcecannabinoids.com for our forest bathing products. Check out TSCTalks.com for more on our podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Try to check us out on Wednesday, August 26th at 7 p.m. on Facebook, our Facebook page for our Facebook Live Women's Equality Day chat. Thanks so much. Over and out.